Hey everybody, Mr. Macintosh here, and Apple has just released macOS Big Sur 11.2.3 update. What's new? Well, we're going to go over all the things that are new about this update, and we're in the macOS Big Sur Update Command Center. We've got an M1 MacBook Pro that we're going to live demo. We've got a T1 MacBook Pro from 2017, and we've got a T2 system from 2018. So we've got three different Macs, two Intels, and one Apple Silicon that we're going to do a live demo on to go over the update to see how it reacts. And you'll get to see before you even update how the update goes live. We'll go over the size, we'll go over all the changes, we'll go over the T2 Bridge OS, we'll go over if there's a firmware update, we'll go over everything that you're going to need to know before you install this update. So we got a lot to cover. Let's jump in and get started. Like the previous 11.2.1 video that I put out, I'm going to run a live update so you know how these updates are going to perform and act on your individual machine. We're going to find out, is there a firmware update on the Apple Silicon Mac? Is there a Bridge OS update on the T2 Mac? We're going to find out all those things. So before we get into the update, we're going to get these kicked off because it's going to take a little bit of time for them to install, and we can watch while it happens and then go over all the things in the update. So we're going to kick off one by one and see how they go in the speed wise and how the functions go. So the first one we're going to kick off here is a 2018 MacBook Pro with a T2 security chip. So we're going to go over here, and what I've done before to save some time is I've pre-downloaded the update. I've got the system preferences open here, and you can see restart now. So what that means is that the download is already downloaded. And if you have the settings in here to download new updates when available, then that's what it's going to say for you if it's already downloaded. It's going to say update now if it needs to download. And the way I did this without having to restart the system and kick off the update is I use the software update binary in terminal. So we do software update, and then we did list. We can show what updates are available. What I did is I hit download, D for download, and A for all, and I hit enter, and it downloads the macOS Big Sur 11.2.3 update to the system. So all the systems now have the update already cached. So where is that update? We're going to go over and show you where that update is here in a second, but I want to get these kicked off. So we can now go over to the system preferences and just click restart now, and there it goes immediately. Now we're going to go over to the T1 system here, and we're going to kick this one off right here. Update now. Here it goes. Now we're going to go to the M1. Now remember, the M1 needs a volume owner before we kick off the update, and it's going to ask us for a password. We need to be able to be the owner of the system, and this is now acting like your iPhone. A lot of users have asked in the video, why do I need a password for this update? And that's the reason. It's now kind of acting like your iPhone. Whenever you update your iPhone or your iPad, you are asked to put in your PIN number before you kick off the update. So it's kind of following that type of a sequence here. Let's scroll down here and I'll show you. We'll kick down to the Bridge OS update section. And this is where I go in, and you can see I check every single release here. And this is not update 18.16.14 347. And if you see here, the previous update for macOS Big Sur 11.2.2 had the same Bridge OS 14.347. So it's the same version, and it's not being updated here. So that's for the T2. Now on the Apple Silicon device, normally what I've seen so far is that the system firmware, which is in, you can go to Apple to about this Mac to system information, and it's a system firmware version in that area. And I'll go show you what that, and that is where I get the 6723.81.1. That's the firmware for the controller and the Apple Silicon M1 firmware. And as you can see here, I've got an entire listing of all the firmware updates for macOS Big Sur, and it looks like Apple's only updating the firmware on a major release. So a major release would be 11.1, 11.2, and when 11.3 comes out. The minor releases are the 11.2.1, 11.2.2, and 11.2.3 when there's a security fix that's needed. And I think the way Apple's doing this versioning is really working out well. There's no more supplemental updates that we have to worry about or anything like that. So that's really great because it's going to help users understand what these updates are. So when I search for supplemental update, I'm not going to get multiple different search term returns on that. I need to search for what was in the 11.2.2 update, and I'm going to be able to find exactly what was in that particular update. Was it security? Was it an important fix like 11.2.2, which was a fix for third-party docks? That if you got a non-certified, more cheaply made type dock that was a powered dock, and what was happening is they were plugging it into the MacBook Pro, and it was actually killing the port or killing the logic board on these devices. So they put out an update, and that was the 11.2.1 update that was going to resolve to prevent that from happening. And there was a lot of users that were complaining about that and saying, hey, I plugged into my Mac into this dock, and now it doesn't turn on anymore. The screen's not coming on, or all kinds of different problems. So hopefully that resolved that in the 11.2.2 update. But that's the point of the point release updates, that if Apple finds that there's a serious issue, they don't have to do a major release. They can come out with a minor release quickly, so we don't have to wait, because usually there's 1 to 2 to maybe even 3 months between major releases that they can come out with that update quick. Now for the 11.2.3 update, it was security based. So if there's a security vulnerability that comes out and Apple has to address it quickly, they can with the point release, and that's what they did here. So let's scroll down and take a look at what they did here. And now just taking a look at the time, where it's 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and you can see that we're pretty close in the amount of time. Now, I wanted to tell you where this one was. So this is the looks like the M1 MacBook Pro is the first one to get a timer to tell how much time is remaining on the update. So it's saying there's 12 minutes remaining. Now, I wanted to tell you about this one particular is because I took this one all the way back to 11.0.1, the farthest away possible from 11.2.3, to see what it would do and how long that would take. And you can see that the T2's coming up here and the T1's coming up here probably, and we're gonna see the minutes remaining here pretty quickly here. So that one's kicking off. So let's talk about the security fix for this update and why this was released. So it was directly to resolve WebKit, and it was available for macOS Big Sur, and the impact is processing a maliciously crafted web content may lead to arbitrary code execution. Description: a memory corruption issue was addressed with improved validation. CVE 2021-1844 from Google's Threat Analysis Group. That's what it was addressed here. And the change was actually in Safari. And here we go. Look, we've got 10 minutes remaining on this, 9 minutes and 9 minutes. So we're pretty close here. And again, I think that this is a faster machine than the 2017 and 2018 MacBook Pros, 15-inch. But because I have to update, I went all the way back to 11.0.1. There's more pieces of the operating system that have to update before it gets to 11.2.3. It doesn't have to just update, for example, a couple things in Safari. It has to update a lot more things. So that's why we might be a little bit behind here. And the next video, I'll go exactly one release behind to get a better view of how long each one takes and which one's faster. But I wanted to tell you that's why this one's a little bit behind, but it might come in. We're already at 9 minutes and these are at 9 and 8 minutes. So we'll see where this ends up and who wins faster here. But going back to the security piece here, that was the only thing. And if you look at this, Safari was updated. Safari 14.0.3 was updated in this release. And whenever a new operating system is updated, Safari comes pre-packaged inside the update. So at the end, you'll see that Safari was updated with a brand new build version number, and that's how you can tell. And also, if you have a Catalina system or a Mojave system, 14.03 will become available. And I'll show you in Software Update Inspector here. You can see Safari 14.03, and we can see in here that this is in the package. You can see that this is for Catalina, and this is 83 megabytes. And the one for Mojave in here was 85 megabytes. So that will show up in your software update. And I recommend that you update your Safari as soon as possible. And again, you can see down here, we can look and we can see that the Safari, the previous version, was deprecated here. 14.03 was deprecated, and this is the one that was replaced, and the build version number did change. That's how you can tell. It was a little weird that they didn't update it to 14.04, but again, the build version was changed, and you can see here in the security content of 14.03 down here, Apple does note that after installing this update, the build number for Safari 14.03 is 14.610 4317 for Mojave and 4317 for Catalina. So you can see that they did change that for the Safari. And again, that was available for both operating systems. And there was not a security update to come out with it because all that was addressed was Safari in that particular security update piece. So let's go back here and let's check out how we're doing. We got 7 minutes, 6 minutes, and 6 minutes. So we're just about 1 minute behind on the M1, and the two 15-inch MacBook Pros are pretty close together here. Let's go back to, this is the 31st release in total, including all the betas, all the way back to the very first beta from June 22nd. That was WWDC 2020. And speaking of WWDC, we should be getting an announcement here, and it's March 9th, 2021. We should be getting an announcement here from Apple with the new WWDC, and we're guessing that it's, or I'm guessing that, and a lot of other people are guessing that it's going to be an online event again. It's not going to be an in-person due to the COVID pandemic that's still going on here. So we'll see. And a lot of people are saying that's great because more developers can take part of that and be involved with that, being able to get lab sessions with developers and stuff like that, or engineers. And I know I will be in there making sure that I try to get my lab sessions like I did last year to be able to get these questions answered that we are wondering about with certain things with macOS Big Sur or the next operating system, which will be macOS 12, whatever the name will be when that comes out. So that's that. The interesting thing here is that Apple, I've had an issue with Apple being a little bit late with their full installer. What I mean by that, that's the 13 or 12 gigabyte full installer of the operating system. And normally they come out pretty quickly, but some of the previous ones, they've come out a couple days later after they would come out with their point release or their minor release. With this one though, it was immediate. At 12 noon or 10 o'clock in California time, they came out with the full installer ready to go in the Mac App Store, ready to roll. And I see that in Software Update Inspector right away. And you can see this right here. And the full installer was released right at 12:04 p.m. So that was really great to see that Apple get right on the ball and have that release right when the update was released to everybody else. So again, that was great to see. And then you can see the T2 Bridge OS update that we just talked about that was also released. If you were on a previous version, if you already have 11.2.2 on your system, like I said, you're not going to get the update. But if you're on one of the previous versions, you are going to get the Bridge OS update. So that's what I wanted to kind of make clear there. When I said it's not updated if you're already on that particular version because you already had 11.2.2 installed. So again, I wanted to just clarify. So that was the full installer. And I also keep a link here directly to the Install Assistant PKG. And I'm going to probably do a video on this or another article to show that this is a real easy way to be able to download the full installer instead of having to go to the App Store and having all these kind of problems. For some people, you just click on the App Store and it downloads and it's fine. Other people are having issues if they're on an older operating system and they can't get the Big Sur, or if they're using system preferences. I'm still getting questions about getting errors with downloading in system preferences, and I was hoping that that would be resolved by now. Now here we are, real quick, a time check here. We got 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and 2 minutes. So we're very close here on getting almost finished here. So back to the full installer. So if you, and this is a link directly to Apple Software Update Server. If you click on this link, it'll download the 13 gigabyte Install Assistant package down to your downloads folder. And when you open that and install that package, it just takes the full macOS Big Sur installer application and puts it to your applications folder. That's it. Super easy, super quick. It's like the easiest way to do it. Now, I did notice, because I checked today, that the previous macOS 11.1 and 11.2 install assistant packages are now unavailable for download. 11.2.1, 11.2.2 are still available if you need those. And I always recommend that if you have like an external hard drive, grab that installer. You never know when you need to go back to a previous version to be able to test something. So that full installer is 12.22 gigabytes, and there's the product ID number. And like I said when I talked about the different sizes of the update, another thing that I checked was I'm getting the sense here that with the redesign of where the updates are stored on macOS Big Sur, remember we talked about that, they're not in library updates anymore. They are in, we will go to System, it's the new updates for Big Sur and forward will be System, Library, and we're gonna go to List here, Assets V2, and then it is in Mac Software Update. And this is where, if I click download now, this is where there's going to be a folder in here with all of the assets of the update. And these are the XML files, and you can see I opened up macOS or the System Preferences Software Update pane, and you can see that it update, and inside this XML file here, we can see that it shows all the information about the latest update. It's 11.2.3. And then that's where the updates are now stored. They're not in library updates anymore like in macOS Catalina. So I wanted to kind of go over that. And again, that folder will be there once I hit update. Now, it's not going to immediately restart. It'll just start to download here, and I'll get a little notification up here that it says, hey, the update is downloaded and you can restart now. You can click restart. And it looks like the first one is going to finish here is the 2018 T1. And we did kick that off first. And we can see by the cursor over here, we're really close behind on the 2017 here. So we're almost done. And this one says it's got less than a minute remaining. So if you think about it, they were very close. And again, the next update, I'm going to make sure that I'm on the same version of the operating system to get a better idea of which one's the fastest here. And I think it's fun to be able to check to see how fast these go. And I'm going to guess that the M1 MacBook Pro is going to win for sure. And the only reason why it's running behind now is because I had to update from 11.01 all the way to 11.2.3. So we'll wait for this to come up here. And, oh, look at this. Ha! We are first, and we're in. And we are, and no, I do not want to. Leave me alone, Siri. And we are back to the desktop here, and we're waiting on these guys here. And we're waiting, we're making sure, and we are fully up to date. And look, we're at test, and test, and test. We are back in. No, no, no. Some people like Siri, other people don't. Oh, and that's why I wanted to show you that update folder here. You can see here in this update directory here, the mobile asset folder that I was talking about here. Let me see if I can get this in a better view so we can look at these updates. And let's log in here real quick here. And we're back in. All right. And let's see on time here. Well, it looks like the updates took around anywhere between, because we're at 18 minutes now, or no, 20 minutes. So I'm guessing the updates took about anywhere between 16 and 17 minutes total to install. And we watched it here so you can see that it went live. So that's pretty quick. That did not take very long at all here. So, oh, back to the updates folder here. We got the asset data. The most of the information is, the update is stored in the asset data, restore, and you also got the firmware files here. I think it was in the payload for the firmware files. For the firmware, yep, embedded firmware is in the boot folder, and the main update is in this DMG, and the macOS recovery and the diagnostics DMG are right here for those updates too. For macOS Big Sur 11.2.3, I think we went over all the different scenarios that you might be in and what this update covered and what it entailed. What did you think? Did you install this update? Did it go as fast as you thought it would be? Did you not even install this update because you're like, you know, I know that's such a small piece, I'm not going to do it? I recommend that you do install this. If Apple went through all this trouble to be able to come up with this update just for that one security fix, I recommend that we do it, because Apple could have rolled that security fix into 11.3 that's going to come out within the next 2 weeks. but they thought it was important enough to do a minor release, and that's important enough for me to give the recommendation for you to do it immediately. And as you can see, on almost every system, the update went really well and quick and no problems whatsoever. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you like this format. Did you want me to check anything else when I'm doing these updates? Let me know in the comments. I really enjoy talking to you guys in the comments about different things. Or if you have any questions about the update, feel free to let me know and I'll answer them. If you did like this video though, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, click that subscribe button and you'll be notified when we got a new video coming out. And if you're already a subscriber, you know I do always appreciate your watch and your participation. We'll catch you in the next video.